The gym was filled with laughter. All eyes were on a small girl, barely 10 years old, standing in the middle of a martial arts mat, facing a towering man with a black belt wrapped proudly around his waist. "Come on, kid," he chuckled, clapping his hands mockingly. "Show me what you've got. I promise I won't break you." Everyone laughed except her. Her tiny hands tightened into fists. Her breathing steadied. There was something in her eyes that silenced even the giggles, a calm, fierce determination that didn't belong to a child. When the black belt made his move, what happened next left the entire gym frozen in disbelief. But to understand how this little girl ended up here and why that single moment changed everyone's life, we have to go back. 8-year-old Mia Carter had always been smaller than other kids her age. She walked with quiet steps, often carrying a backpack that seemed almost bigger than her. Her world wasn't filled with friends or fun, it was filled with whispers, laughter, and cruel words that followed her every day at school. Tiny Turtle, the boys called her. Martial arts? You can't even reach the punching bag. But Mia didn't care. She wasn't chasing attention, she was chasing courage. Her late father, Ethan Carter, had been a judo instructor, kind, disciplined, and patient. Before he passed away in an accident 2 years ago, he used to tell her, "Courage doesn't mean not being afraid, sweetheart. It means standing up even when you are." Every night since then, Mia would practice the moves her father taught her. The old garage had become her little dojo, dusty mats, creaking floorboards, and a photograph of her dad on the wall smiling proudly in his white GI. Her mom, Rachel, worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. She didn't understand much about martial arts, but every time she saw Mia bow before that photo, she felt her late husband's presence in that room. One day, after saving for months, Rachel enrolled Mia into Crown Martial Arts Academy, one of the top training centers in town. But the moment Mia stepped in, she knew it wouldn't be easy. The other students were older, stronger, and the instructors seemed to focus on the loudest and fastest, not the quiet ones like her. And then there was Sensei Grant, the black belt who led the advanced group, tall, intimidating, and respected. He wasn't cruel, but he didn't take children seriously. Especially small ones. When he first saw Mia practicing in the corner, struggling to balance through a kick, he smirked. "That's not ballet class, kid," he said jokingly, while the other students laughed. Mia just bowed politely. "Yes, sensei." She trained harder. Day after day, while others went home, she stayed repeating every throw, every stance until her arms trembled. She fell. She failed. But she never quit. Rachel would often find her asleep on the mat, a bruise on her knee, her tiny hand still gripping her belt. A few months passed. The annual dojo tournament was announced open for all ages. And to everyone's surprise, Mia signed up. When Sensei Grant saw her name on the list, he chuckled. "You sure, little one? You might end up crying on the mat." Mia looked straight at him. "If I fall, I'll get up." The room fell silent. There was something unshakable in her voice. And that was the moment he, and everyone, started to notice her. The day of the tournament arrived. The gym buzzed with energy, filled with parents, students, and the rhythmic sound of gloves hitting mats. Mia stood in her white uniform, her belt still plain white, slightly frayed at the edges. She watched the older competitors with awe and nerves twisting in her stomach. When her name was called, there were murmurs, some of excitement, some of disbelief. Her first few rounds were against other beginners, and though she didn't win all, she showed incredible technique. Her focus, timing, and discipline were beyond her years. And that's when Sensei Grant decided to test her. He stepped onto the mat himself, smirking. "Let's give the crowd a show, huh?" The crowd cheered, thinking it was just a playful joke. A black belt versus a tiny girl. He leaned down and whispered, "Don't worry, kid. I'll go easy." But Mia just bowed. "No need." The whistle blew. Grant made the first move fast, confident, controlled. But Mia sidestepped lightly, her eyes fixed on his hips and balance points, just like her father taught her. He tried again, a sweeping leg, a classic judo setup. This time, Mia shifted her weight, caught his sleeve, and in one clean motion executed a perfect sui nage, the shoulder throw. The black belt, the strongest man in the gym, hit the mat with a heavy thud. Gasps echoed through the hall. The laughter vanished. Everyone stood frozen, mouths open. Sensei Grant blinked, stunned, not from pain, but from realization. The crowd erupted in applause. Mia bowed respectfully and whispered, "Thank you, Sensei." Grant slowly got up, smiling for the first time. He tied her small white belt tighter and raised her hand in front of everyone. "This," he said, voice trembling, "is what true martial arts means. Discipline, heart, and courage." Rachel, watching from the stands with tears in her eyes, clasped her hands over her mouth. In that moment, she saw Ethan's spirit alive and shining in their little girl. From that day on, Mia wasn't just Tiny Turtle. She became the little warrior. And the black belt who once laughed at her? He became her biggest supporter and her mentor. Sometimes, life will laugh at your size, your age, or your dreams. But true strength isn't about muscles or belts, it's about the courage to keep standing up when everyone expects you to fall. Mia proved that greatness doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be brave.